Like a
Oh,
minute 21.
good morning, everybody. I got so excited that I decided I was going to go early, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we are. Good morning. Happy Friday, Heather. How are you?
I'm awesome. I love that. And then I get the giggles and I can't stop. So, yeah, it's a good morning when you get the giggles.
Yeah, I know I'm like, I just want to go. We were talking just before we got on, before we started the show, and it just fired me up. I'm like, okay, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. You know, Bay actually it reminds me of Wednesday's conversation. It's like you just gotta go, you just gotta go. It's beautiful. So today is Friday, so that means it's Celebration Fridays, and I love Fridays because it's an opportunity to really celebrate what we've done this week. And when we celebrate, and it's funny, I'll share a quick story. I met with a client yesterday, and I asked them, when was the last time you celebrated a success? And they said it's been 2 years. Once they hit a certain point in their business, they then celebrated, which was 2 years ago. I'm like, you haven't had any celebrations in 2 years? They're like, no. I'm like, really? So, what this leads to is that feeling of stuck, that feeling of not moving forward, that feeling of, man, like I'm working, but I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything. And this is why
Hmm.
I know that celebrating your successes, no matter how big or how small, are so crucial to moving forward, whether it's in your business, in your career, in your personal life. You got to celebrate. And if you don't do it, let's do it today. Let's celebrate with us. So Heather, I'm going to ask you, so what's your big celebration for this week?
Well, I had the same experience. I last Friday I had someone jump on our LinkedIn Live and gave me feedback that that had me reflecting on how much I'm celebrating. And what he reflected on is, as an entrepreneur, he's always looking ahead of what's to come and what's to build, and not taking the time to look at the present moment, or to look at the past to say, oh, like, we look at where we are right now, look at where we've come. And that's really important, that you take that moment. If you want to change the way a meeting feels, ask your team what they're most proud of this week. Ask them what they've accomplished that feels really good or feels new, and like a different pattern than before. And these are amazing techniques to really get people to just shift their mindset to see what's possible. And me and you, we talk about transformation. We talk about our own personal transformation, from a mindset, from a body. But any day we looked at the mirror, we looked exactly the same. But it's only when we look at the mirror from a year ago that we're like, whoa, those are two different people in those pictures. And for anyone out there, both me and John have gone on a health focus for the whole year, and physically you can see changes for us. But going back to, what am I celebrating this week? So, John, at the beginning of this year, we talked about reflection, and we had everyone do a reflection of the whole year. And you had a great idea. Is what's the reflection actually monthly? Because if you wait till the end of the year to celebrate, that's way, way too long. So now that we're doing Celebration Fridays, I'm also, taking some time in my journal, writing it down, so I'm not losing the stuff. And so, I think this week, the celebration, John, is me and you have been sort of learning new skills and trying to figure out what's the best applications to run our business on. And we both jumped on a new program called Maven, and we built a course in Maven this week. And it was super easy. It was like, oh, well, it was easy because you were doing it, but it was still easy because the process was really easy to follow, step by step. And before that, it was kind of overwhelming to think, okay, we really want to build a course, but how do we do that? And so I was focused on the how, and it was creating anxiety for me. But then we did it, we took action, and it's like, forget the how, somebody else has figured that out for us. You just follow their steps. And I that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's one of the things that we teach and we share when we do NLP work with people, right? If you want to get to a certain point faster, model those that have already done what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
Like, why reinvent the wheel? So years ago, I was watching this YouTube series called Everything's a Remix. So nothing is original anymore. It's unfortunate. It's not a bad thing, and I don't want anybody to think, "What do you mean I'm not original?" Everybody's original. Everybody has their own personal experiences. Everybody goes through their thing, but everything's a remix. Everything you want to learn, everything you want to do, at some points, right? Whether it's writing a song, it's writing a blog, it's launching a business. Like there are people who are in that space who are just crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the techniques that we know as NLP master practitioners is really you take somebody who's doing what you want to do and you model them. And you really look at what they're doing within their business. You're looking at how they're thinking, how they're feeling, because those are the things that are going to push you forward. Those are the things that are going to shift you into your way of being so you know how to show up that way. So modeling is so important. And I love that. Like, why go reinvent the wheel? If we want a 10x, Grant Cardone talked about 10xing. And 10xing is really having that bigger vision and then finding the support to go build that vision. You don't need to know all the how. You just need to, the start is always the vision, always the vision. And our
Always.
vision was the course, right? Like, how do we get and how do we create more impact in terms of what we do? And the course is one of those ways that we're going to do that. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
John, we talk about the how all the time, but for a short period of time, I was like, I don't know how. And I think the answer is whenever you say to yourself, I don't know how, just say to yourself, someone knows, who knows? And go to the internet, go to your friends base, go to, check out to see what people have already done. And you're so right, John. But John, what do you have to celebrate this week?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a tweetable line. I don't know who's going to tweet it, but if you don't know how, ask your question. Who knows?
Who knows?
If you don't know how, go ask somebody who knows. Yeah, no, this week was a big week for me in terms of, oh man, like from a fitness perspective for sure, because I've been putting in extra time and extra hours. Like even this morning, I did a 20K, 28K bike ride, which was amazing. But my big win this week was just coming to the realization in terms of what we're doing in terms of impact. And my win, like I had a chat with somebody this week who is going to be taking this yes philosophy, this yes movement, and they're going to be sharing it with their world. And with the intention of really sharing the message of reaching 1 million people. And I love it when people come out and they support what we're trying to do. That to me lights me up. That's a win, right? So if somebody wants to take this message, move it forward, say yes, say yes, say yes. That to me is like, wow. Like it just blew me away when I heard that. And I'm so happy that they're going to be putting a speech together. And they're going to run with it. They're going to compete with it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
That's fantastic. Oh my God.
There.
That's awesome. Wow.
So yeah, no, just understanding the reach and the impact that we're having through this work and knowing that it's making a difference, that to me is the biggest win. For me, that's the biggest win. It's like, wow. Good morning, Gunjan. I know you're there. I know you're listening as you're driving. Thank you for tuning in. I love it when Gunjan says good morning.
I love it too.
I don't know. When I talk about routines and rituals, I love it. That's part of my routine and ritual when we come on, right? It's like he's there. It's awesome. And I know some other people are listening too. So say good morning. If you want to, if you can, if you're not in the midst of driving, what's your win this week? Drop it in the comments. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear what your win for the week is. So Heather, I know before we got on, we were going to talk about, you had a particular theme that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah. So I watched a trailer this morning for a movie that's coming out in April, and it's called Air, and it's about Nike. It's the origin story of Nike and how when Nike was just a running shoe, not even a name brand yet, and Converse was the ruler of the basketball court. Nike actually, the story is how they scored Michael Jordan to be spokesperson for the shoes. And in the trailer, and watch it, it's really awesome. I can't wait for this movie to come out. The mom, Michael Jordan's mom, says it's just a shoe until Michael steps into it. And I'm like, oh my God, we teach this stuff. That is fantastic. And so for that reason, I'm excited about it. But the other thing that it got me thinking about is, wow, everything has an origin story. We only know the Michael Jordan, that's the superstar on the basketball court. But there was a day when he was just Michael. He wasn't the Michael that we know today. And Nike wasn't the shoe that we know today. And there's another show that I watch on the History Channel, The Food That Made Us and the Toys That Made Us. It's a whole series, and it talks with the origin story of things that are from our childhood and food and how all these things came about. I'm like, we all have a day one. We all start somewhere. And, so often we're comparing ourselves when we're at chapter 1 and someone else is at chapter 20. And like those two chapters are not the same chapters. Even our show, John, like it's not the same show as it was on day 1. We've evolved it. We've come up with, new colors. We've come up with a new process. Like we have new topics all the time, but we're actually teaching NLP at a more impactful way than we were before. So, and that's on purpose. So, the evolution is really neat to see. So that's what I wanted to talk about, because this day one concept is start where you are, and that's your starting point, honoring that as like a really cool place. So that's where my brain's been going all morning. So yes, I'll shut up because I'm sure you have some thoughts about all of that.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. The Michael Jordan's also got another movie, The Last Dance. I don't know if you've seen that. It's all about the Chicago Bulls and their run for all their NBA championships and how they did that. It's an amazing movie if you want to learn about teamwork, right? If you want to learn about high performing teamwork and what it really takes. And he talks about, Jordan and Pippen and Rodman, who were like, the key players and all. It's just, yes, you got to watch it. You're right. Everybody has an origin. Actually, I created a whole speaker series in and around origin stories, which was my Fearless Voices event, which was really around helping so the theme of the Fearless was really around people highlighting the everyday hero that lives within the community. And I loved it because I know you spoke on stage and you shared your Fearless story. And it's really around, we all have that origin story, but we forget where we come because we're thinking about the future, right? Like we're just moving on. And we talked about this earlier this week, right? We're not living in the present moment. So sometimes what you have to do is take a reflection, like just take a snapshot of where you are right now and look at from where you've come from. If I were to go back 20 years and if I were to say, yeah, one day I'm going to be doing lives on LinkedIn. Hey, LinkedIn didn't exist. And actually, maybe it did exist 20 years ago, 30 years ago. LinkedIn didn't exist 30 years ago. This whole thing called the internet wasn't even a thing. And the opportunities and the things that I'm doing today just didn't exist. And I would say there's no way that's like, what do you mean? I'm going to be talking online, streaming to the world through through social media. What's social media, right? Like you don't even know. Like take a moment and look at from where you've come from, right? And I know, I've listened to, I love, the one of the things I'm doing as part of my Instagram series this month is really talking about what do I love, right? And I love listening to people's origin stories. I love listening to people's starts. I love listening to the challenges that they overcome. They overcame, things that they thought was once impossible is now possible. And it's amazing what happens when you just take a second. And this is why I love the wins. This is why we have Friday wins or Friday celebration, because it's so important to acknowledge how far you've come this week. Right. And I know Gunjan is on the call right now. He celebrates a win every day. What's my win today? Every single day you have a win. Like it's just a positive momentum moving you forward. And I love it. It's so impactful when you can do that. I just want to take a second. Felicia, say good morning. One win that I'm really excited about this week is a new recruit in my business who is dynamite, really, to have him on board. That is amazing. Way to go, Felicia. Woo.
You know what? I want to comment on Felicia's thing too. Is I'm glad she sees it as a win, because in this world of recruitment, finding those superstars is not easy, and you are against that superstar going anywhere. They have choices. So, Felicia, I know you already know this, but I want to say this for everyone else. Remember, the hiring process is just day one. You have to actually then make sure that you're courting them and making sure that they feel valued and that they know how they can contribute and all of the things that are going to build a really strong relationship and have them really step into the best version of themselves in your organization. So remember that this onboarding process is no longer just here's your laptop and here's your, handbook and go at it. It actually is how do we make connection with new employees? And I see that, and John, you see this too, a failure point in many organizations. They find the superstar and then they're like, yay, I've got them. And it's so much more than that. So Felicia, I know that you've already got that, but I wanted to use that as a springboard for some other information that's out there. But I got to go back, John. You said something that I have to highlight because it was really, really insightful. And what you said is living in the present moment is when I'll summarize, but living in the future or in the past is where anxiety lives, and that's when you're stuck in your head. But when you're really thinking from your heart or feeling from your heart, that's when you're in the present moment. So, we always say, live in the present moment, be there. And the best way to organize or know, am I living in the present moment or not, is you're not thinking about the past and you're not thinking about the future, which means that anxiety or depression or any of those other worrisome feelings are not present at this moment because your heart can't feel those things. Your heart actually just lives right now in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you don't have anxiety because you know exactly what's happening right now. But when you're living in the future, you don't know what's going to happen and you have anxiety for that. So, if you're ever wondering, like, why do I have so much anxiety? Think about your thoughts and where they're going for you. And they're often about the future or the past.
Yeah, actually, and I want to tie this back to what you talked about, your origin story, your origin point. And I can guarantee you that if you look back and you reflected, you were just in that moment when you made a decision to do something, right? Whether it's launch a business. So I think about the origin story of this podcast, right? Like I think of the origin story of how we started. The origin story was you got sick, you got COVID, you couldn't go on a trip. And I'm like, Heather, you're around. Do you want to just do you want to do lives all week this week? And you're like, okay. Right? Like you were just in the moment. Like you did.
But my internal dialogue, let me tell you, my internal dialogue, like, what a jerk. Doesn't he know I'm sick? Like, can't I just be sick for a week? Like, why is he asking me to do LinkedIn Lives? I'm going to look like crap. Why am I going to do LinkedIn Lives? I didn't voice any of that. That was a moment in time. Like, will I be okay to do a LinkedIn Live? And then I'm like, I won't know until I try. So the answer is yes. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So, I had some thoughts that might have limited me, but I got past them very quickly. But you were like, you didn't care. Not that you didn't care, but you're like, you've got time. Let's do LinkedIn Lives. And I'm like, I can't say no to John. That's actually not a bad idea.
Here we are now, February 10th, 2023, now 4 months into doing these lives, right? Like who knew, right? But that is, being what your origin story, if you really look at it, I'm sure you were in the moment. You weren't thinking about, oh, this is what, like you just decided, this is what I'm going to do. This is my first step, and this is what I need to do to keep moving forward. And we've got people.
Actually, John, if you would have asked me, let's do a LinkedIn Live on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for as long as we live, I would have been like, no, I'm not committing to that. You asked me to commit for 5 days, and I fell in love with the LinkedIn Live conversations. I fell in love with, making sure that we're teaching in these bite-sized pieces. And then now Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I can't wait for those days. So it's also, we took one baby step, didn't, eat the whole elephant in one shot. And then it's like, oh, this is easy. Oh, this is easy. Oh, this is easy. It's step by step by step. So we take action, but not the whole thing. We just take one step and then try it on. And we tried this on and we're like, we love this. This is working perfectly. And I'll tell you, John, we decided, because it's kind of hard to find us afterwards on LinkedIn. So we've moved it over into a podcast. So this audio is in format of a podcast. You can find us on any of our podcast platforms, but I actually sent it to a girlfriend of mine just to show her the new colors and to show her, where we're going. She's like, you're on Spotify? Oh, you're like legit. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I am legit. So like I had to put on a new identity yesterday. I'm like, yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to us. And, that's all because we said yes. All because we
Yeah.
said yes.
No, and we're hitting new milestones every day with our downloads on the different podcast platforms. I'm like, man, how do we like? So I think about our million impact, right? Like millions. So we're going to stick with the million for 2023. But how do we reach, right? So one of the things we do, we take these conversations, we convert them to podcasts, so you can carry them in your pocket and you can take them with you anytime you want, whether you're working out, you're going for a walk, or whatever you're doing. We're here for you, right? And every podcast is themed, so you know exactly what we're going to be talking about in those sessions. So yeah, no, we're in your pocket. We love it. It's our way of making that impact, giving back to the world, and really creating the impact for 1 million people this year. And and here's the thing. I just want to just throw this out there real quick. I know we're almost at the time where we're going to wrap up, but we can't do it without your support, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can share it with 1 or 2 people, that's all we're asking. Take this message, take the podcast, share it out with 1 or 2 people who need to hear it today. Because at some point, somebody needs to hear this message, because they're just at a certain point in terms of just needing a little bit of help. They're going through a challenge or a struggle, and there's always something in here that's going to help them. So if you feel that this is beneficial for them, share. Please share. Please share.
Share
Our
and
goal
teach,
is to
right?
get to
Whatever you learn, teach it, because that's how that ripple effect happens.
Yeah. And actually, when you learn something and you share it with somebody else, it ingrains it even further in you. Which is why I love to take the lessons that we pick up throughout the week and we share it with all of you, because it helps it ingrain it in us. So that's just a way of keeping it going. Okay, so we are all in. We're already at time.
We're going to do the call to action, John. Call to action. So celebrate your successes, write them down, ask your team, celebrate, even with the kids. Like, it's family celebrations too. And what is your origin story? When was there a moment in your life that you actually didn't know how to do what you do today? How did you become the expert and the superstar that you are in whatever area of life you feel that you have mastered or you're on the way to mastering? Write down that origin story. It might be a moment when you didn't know how to play the piano or the guitar. It might be a moment when you didn't know how to lead a team. It might be a moment when you didn't know how to be a mom or a dad. And so just take that moment and remember your origin story and write it down. It is fantastic to look back on who you are and how you got there, because you're uniquely you, and we want to celebrate uniquely you.
Yeah, love it. I love it. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. We will be back on Monday. We'll include the link to the podcast below once we're done uploading it. But yes, if you can, please share with your friends. And with that, we're out. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.